Alright, people. Review of the week time. So, a lot to get into, a lot to talk about, a lot to discussion. We have to start with the fight that happened last night, which was obviously Canelo Alvarez versus Jaime Munguia. The fallout from that, we will look at briefly the card, have a chat with that there. You know, Figueroa stopping Magdaleno. Magdaleno came in overweight as well. Now, Jesse Magdaleno, when he beat Nonito Donaire, there was a lot expected of him. He made that title defense, and then he was put in with Isaac Dogboe. He took a bit of a beating in that fight, and he's been in the wilderness since then. I think he lost to Raymond Ford at some point last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, lost to him last year. Now he's been stopped by Figueroa in 9. I don't know what happened. I really don't. I think he had issues making weight in the past. I think that was back down at 122. Seems like he's having issues now with featherweight. So there's that. Staniones picked up a win, as too did Mario Barros. As is often the case with Canelo Alvarez cards, they're not exactly stacked. You know, it's fair to say they're not exactly the most stacked card you'll ever see in the world. It normally kind of is the main event is kind of the one. You know, that's kind of how it's seen with these Canelo cards. The main event is the one. Let's talk about the main event, which was obviously Canelo Alvarez versus Jaime Munguia. I watched it again this morning. It is a very good fight to watch. It's not one of those fights where, I'll give you an example, right? None of us have gone back and watched Charlo versus Canelo again. I can't say everyone, but I would say the majority haven't gone back and watched that again, because what was there really to watch? It was a very dull affair, similar to the Callum Smith, in which the guy was kind of just there to make the numbers up, it seemed, and go the distance as opposed to actually win the fight. Munguia made a go of this fight and he tried to win it, and he caused Canelo some bother in there. He won his fair share of rounds in there, definitely. He was down, he got back up, he was hurt a couple of times. He was game. If he didn't want to come to win, we sure as hell didn't show it. He came to win. And early on in the fight, he was having success. I was surprised in round number 3 how many shots he was getting through to Canelo with, and how little Canelo's head movement, which is always one of his key strengths, there was in the fight. But as it is, Canelo picks his shots very well. He picked a great uppercut in round number 4. He was able to drop Munguia. He was able to hurt him several times, the head and body. He neglected the body too much in this fight, though, did Canelo Alvarez. He neglected the body a bit too much for my liking. But for the most part, it was Canelo Alvarez in control. Munguia did come back on late on in the fight, won a couple of rounds, but it was Canelo all the way. It was a good fight. It was a good performance by Alvarez. You know, I think it was Chris Mannix or Sergio Moore, it was one or the other, said that the Canelo of 2018-2021, that's gone. We'll never get Canelo quite that good again. And I agree. He was still in his 20s at the time. He was in his late 20s to his early 30s. That was peak Canelo. Now I think, he is probably on the decline. But how much of a decline? Not that much. It's not like he's over the hill or anything like that. It's nothing like that. But he definitely isn't as good as he was those few years ago. He doesn't have the same... I don't think he's got the same head movement. He's never had the best stamina. I think now he's just kind of pacing himself a little bit better. He never worked the full 3 minutes of every round. But I think now he's really kind of like, right, work when you absolutely can and don't unnecessarily work in a fight. His stamina isn't what it's never been the best, but I think now he's just conserving a bit more, because he knows even if he fought to a tempo he would have fought maybe against Saunders, he's going to run the risk of depleting that gas tank further. So he's not the Canelo that he was a couple of years ago, but he's still very, very good. Having said that, what I saw in there against Munguia, I was looking at this fight and I was like, okay, if that was Benavidez be winning. Benavidez be having a lot more success. He's bigger, he's better, he's stronger, he hits harder. He's just a better version of Jaime Munguia. He's just better in every department, and he's much bigger, hits a lot harder. And I'm thinking if Munguia is getting through and having success, backing Canelo up to the ropes, Benavidez, that's going to be... He'll have a torrid time in there against Dave Benavidez. He'll have an absolute torrid time in there against Dave Benavidez, in my opinion. Now, in the fallout, Canelo Alvarez was actually asked if the Benavidez fight would be likely to happen. 200 mil. So that's not going to happen anytime soon. And yes, Canelo Alvarez, in my opinion, he is ducking Benavidez. There's no ifs or buts. He is ducking Dave Benavidez. Dave Benavidez is mandatory at 168 pounds. It's being facilitated in large part by the WBC, who will not, under any circumstances, call that mandatory. They'll let Canelo get away with doing whatever he wants, and now Benavidez going up to 175. I suspect it's unlikely he'll come back down to 168 because he is a very, very big man. I don't even know how he makes that weight to begin with. He'll be big even at 175, to be honest with you. But he has ducked Benavidez. Asking for 200 mil, that's unreasonable. That's not going to happen. He's not going to get that kind of purse to fight Dave Benavidez. There's no way. And, you know, what we're hearing now is that likelihood is he'll fight Edgar Berlanga in September. And I don't like that fight. I can get it from a marketing point of view because you can market it to the casual fans as Mexico against Puerto Rico. Berlanga will come in with plenty of knockouts on his resume. He's unbeaten. He'll be hyped that, you know, he's a big punching guy from Puerto Rico. Canelo could be in trouble if he's on the slide. But in reality, we all know that the fight he had against Munguia tonight will be way harder than what he'll have in there against Edgar Berlanga. Way harder. It's not even going to be close. Canelo hasn't had a stoppage since 2021. He'll get that stoppage against Berlanga. Canelo won't be able to miss him. He'll light him up like a Christmas tree and he'll probably stop him emphatically. Absolutely emphatically. In terms of how long do we... people are asking, I'm just reading it there. People are asking how long do we have with Canelo in the sport of boxing. I would imagine we probably have Canelo for another 2 to 3 years. I think he's got one foot out the door. He might not say it, but I think he knows himself that Father Time is undefeated, and that sand in that hourglass is coming slowly to its end. When is that end? Soon, but how soon, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what he does over the next year, 18 months. That's really going to tell us everything we need to know about where Canelo Alvarez is at and what he's doing. Terence Crawford said it looks like Canelo carried him the whole fight. That, I would say, is a fight that's on more people's minds now, and maybe more so on Canelo's mind than Benavidez. And to be honest, I would say Crawford is more likely to fight Canelo than Benavidez at this point. They would see that as a big enough fight and a risk worth taking because they're the bigger guy. Crawford is obviously fighting Israel Madrimov now come August 3rd, and then what he does next remains to be seen. If he beats Madrimov, I wouldn't be surprised if they hold out until May this time next year, when we're talking about Canelo versus Crawford. Because if you think about it like this, right, Canelo will have his fight in September. If it's against Berlanga, he'll win. He can hold out, he can rest up until May next year, as can Terence Crawford. It's another year onto Terence Crawford, because Crawford's older than Canelo. It's another year of aging for him. At that age, you can just overnight, boom, it's gone. Or it's gone enough to the point where a fight that was very competitive now becomes more one-sided in the other guy's favour. So it wouldn't shock me if they look to do Crawford next. It wouldn't surprise me even in the slightest. I'd rather see Crawford against Boots, and I'd rather see Canelo against Dave Benavidez. But do I think we're going to get it? I have to be frank, I highly doubt it. Gervonta Davis has welcomed a rematch with Ryan Garcia in the future, but dismisses his catchweight demands and said it should take place at 140 pounds. If it's for a title, it should definitely take place at the correct weight. If it's not, then I don't mind a catch weight. But I'm very against the rehydration clause. I'm dead set against them. Now, tomorrow morning here in the UK, tomorrow morning / afternoon. So, Naoya Inoue is going to take on Lewis Nery. Alright, and I'm looking forward to that fight. You know me, I love watching Naoya Inoue. I can't wait for that fight. I'm hearing the ring walk is going to be about noon. So because I'm kind of like, I was going to do a bit of training in the morning, but then I was like, this fight. So if it's at noon, I can get away with doing I can do a little early session in the morning, and then come back and get a review and all that good stuff out for this fight, because I'm really looking forward to it. It's on Sky Sports. I think it's going to be a great fight. It's in the Tokyo Dome. Last time there was a world title fight in the Tokyo Dome, certainly a big fight, it was Tyson Douglas, and we all know what happened there. Do I think Lewis Nery is going to pull the upset? I do not. No, I don't think he's going to pull the upset. But that's how upsets happen. I think that he is public enemy number 1 over there in Japan after what happened a few years ago with those two. One was a failed test and the other one was missing weight very badly. So, yeah. Some would even look at this and say maybe that's his punishment. Maybe that is his actual punishment in place of this, because honestly, it's a tall order. It's going to be a very tall order for him to get through this. Now, I'm reading this here. Dimitri Bivol. Oh no, this is announced. Oh. Well, I was doing a live stream there a little while ago and I was talking about the possibility of it being Boazzi, but it ain't. So Dimitri Bivol will now defend his WBA light heavyweight world title against Malik Zinad on June the 1st after the Beterbiev fight was postponed. His Excellence Turki Al Sheikh revealed that Deontay Wilder versus Zhilei Zhang is now the main event. Some would say that's harsh towards Dimitri Bivol, that he's not the main event now, but that fight, in the nicest way, it's not a main event fight. So this guy, Malik Zinad, he is from Libya. He's from Libya, makes his home in Malta. He is a light heavyweight, 22-0 with 16 knockouts. Who has he fought? I recognize vaguely this guy, Jerome Polani. I think I say that guy's name. It vaguely rings a bell, that name. I'm not sure why it does, because I don't recall seeing him fight. But the resume, I mean, I don't recognize. I recognize Norbert, however you pronounce that last name. He's a journeyman, and he's not even a particularly durable journeyman either. I think Yards fought him, amongst others. So this is the guy who's hopping in for Artur Beterbiev. He's got to have an uphill battle on his hands. He's going to have an absolute uphill battle on his hands to get through Dimitri Bivol. Again, some would say maybe it's a bit harsh that Dimitri Bivol now he's not fighting Beterbiev. He's been downgraded, so he's not the main event. It's going to be Zhang versus Wilder. And yeah, I can see where they're coming from, but at the end of the day, the eyes are going to be on that fight more so than Bivol versus this Malik Zinad guy. So they kind of had to. People were tuning in for the 5v5 and Beterbiev Bivol. They're now pretty much just tuning in for the 5v5. In terms of Beterbiev, obviously late Friday night / Saturday morning, it was announced that he's pulled out of this fight due to an injury. It is a meniscus, which I believe is in the knee. And yeah, it was, it was crap, to say the least, to see that. I was hoping that wouldn't be the case, that there wouldn't be any pullouts, because when this fight was announced, I'll tell you a story, it was bizarre for me in a good way. I was happy because I kind of resigned myself to the fact that, we're not going to get this fight in 2022 for obvious reasons, Sullivan being Sullivan. Then there was talk that it was really going to actually happen. And then it was announced, and I was thinking, brilliant. This was after the Callum Smith fight. And they said June 1st. And I was thinking, by Beterbiev standards, that's a very quick turnaround. By anyone else's standards, you could probably say, no, that's about right. But Beterbiev is someone who really is a one-a-year type of fighter. I think 2021, he had 2 fights that year. He had one in March, one in December. I think it was December time, November, December. But that's a rarity. Normally, he is a kind of once-a-year type of guy because he has a lot of injuries. He's had injuries to his teeth. I think he's had arm injuries. Now he's got this. A lot of people... And I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm not going to give my 2 cents on this, right? A lot of people are speculating that Beterbiev is not either, maybe he's not injured or is not that badly injured, that maybe this is due to the fact that he should be taking things that he shouldn't. Listen, I'm not saying I subscribe to that. I'm not giving my 2 cents on it. Would it shock me if it was the case? No. But as it stands now, it's an injury. It's an injury. Would it surprise me if it was something nefarious? No, it wouldn't, to be honest with you. It wouldn't surprise me with any fighter, whether it would be Canelo, Fury, Usyk, Joshua, etc., etc., etc. It wouldn't surprise me if any of them did it. But I'm not going to go and point the finger at someone. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to say this is that or this is this in terms of, PED use. No. As far as I'm concerned, at the minute, until we see anything otherwise, it's a knee injury. It's not... well, look, I'm not going to give my 2 cents on it, but we don't know anymore. But I'm not going to say I necessarily subscribe to what people are speculating. Would it shock me if it was? Not necessarily, but no, I ain't going to go down that road just yet. Beterbiev, it's been throughout his career, he's been having injuries. Always seems to be something different, but it's been happening. The one thing I will say is that I hope to God that if it is in fact a genuine injury, that this isn't the one that finally does it, because Beterbiev is going on 40 if he's not already. I want him to fight Bivel, but I want him to fight Bivel at his peak. And bear in mind, they've said this is postponed. He's not good to go until September, so it might be December, January next year, can we get this fight? I hope it's not the case, but yeah, let's wait and see. Some good news. I call this good news. Maybe reassuring news is a better way to say it. Tyson Fury's arrived in Saudi Arabia ahead of his fight with Alexander Usyk. So he's in Saudi Arabia now, Tyson Fury. We're a fortnight away. I've got some videos this week, little previews, breakdown videos of the fight coming up. So yes, let's go. I'm looking forward to that fight. And I know it was about this time. In fact, I think it was a Friday, and it was like going into it might have been around about this time where the fight got binned in February. And yeah, we still are upset about that. We still get a little bit annoyed that happened, but it happened. And now we're in May, and it's coming. May 18th is coming, and I think we are going to get it. I'm sticking my neck out on the line again. Once bitten, twice shy, but I'm going to stick my neck out and say, no, we are getting it. We are getting it. In terms of who's going to win, I can't wait to do these previews. It's going to be good fun. I'm looking forward to it. I think this is going to be good. I think this is going to be a good week. We're going to get some good content out on this fight, and yeah, may the best man win. May the best man win. A lot of people have been speculating about Tyson Fury's weight, and I'm going to do a separate video on that. For sure I am, because the weight is going to be an interesting one, because he does look slim. And that's going to be a real interesting talking point, which I'll talk about maybe in a separate video, maybe even tomorrow, who knows, but we'll talk about that in due course. Have no fear of that. It was announced on Friday that Chantel Cameron has now signed a promotional deal with Frank Warren and Queensbury. So she has split from Eddie Hearn. I'm sure Eddie Hearn is still devastated, and Frank Warren is, I'm sure, delighted that he's now got Chantel Cameron. Anyway, yeah, so Conor McGregor has been having a go at Ryan Garcia over his positive drug tests. Conor McGregor, yeah, because he has the moral high ground on so many things, doesn't he, Conor McGregor? Conor McGregor is a scumbag, true and true. There's no ifs or buts. He is a scumbag, true and true. And some people say, well, gee, he's never... Look at Conor McGregor. You tell me that guy's clean. For a lot of things. Even stuff that you wouldn't even say are performance enhancers. My guy looks... Everything about McGregor. That guy has got to have God knows what's in his system. And I love the way that he takes the moral high ground, get yourself together and stuff like, get yourself together. There's rich coming from someone. I'm not even going to go there, but there's been a lot of things about McGregor, I'm not going to go there, but there's been a lot of things over the years. So when he says, get yourself together, I mean, that's rich coming from him. McGregor is a complete scumbag. He's from Crumlin, and I know it goes out hard, but Crumlin is what Crumlin is, and the people from there are, the majority could be good people, but there is a lot of people in Crumlin who let the side down. They're not good people. That's what I will say. And McGregor certainly fits that mould. McGregor is an awful individual. He really, truly is. He really is. But Ryan Garcia, obviously it was announced that he had tested positive for Ostarine and Nandrolone, amongst other things. They're going to be going down the road at the B sample and stuff like that. There is talk that they should turn the contest, or they should turn the fight to a no contest, which, if in fact he is guilty, I don't really see an issue with that, because, well, yeah, you got enough of an advantage by coming in overweight and not having to lose that 3 and a bit pounds and then to rehydrate it. So you got enough of an advantage with that. Now you're coming in, apparently with, illegal substances in your system that are going to enhance your performance. Yeah, there is a lot to answer. There's a lot of questions there. The fact that they're saying it was on the day and the day after the fight, that does kind of make you scratch your head a little bit, because it's rare. I mean, you as a fighter, you would never take a substance that close to a fight. You do it before camp, so then you can cycle off it and then use a masking agent. Have they made a mistake? I'm only speculating. Have they made a mistake with their masking? Have they timed it wrong? I don't know. But it's very rare you'd fail on the week of the fight. Extremely rare. Now, in terms of what Ryan Garcia, what will happen if he is found guilty, Ryan Garcia is such a cash cow. He's such a big star. I reckon it'd be now. Don't be doing that. Slap on the wrist. That's what it's going to be. It's announced that Jaron Boots Ennis will now defend his world titles against Cody Crowley on July 13th in Philadelphia. I always look forward to watching Jaron Boots Ennis. I enjoy watching him. I think that fight is going to be just a good display of what we have with Boots Ennis and the talent that he has, because he has talent to burn. He absolutely 100% does. An incredibly talented fighter is Jaron Boots Ennis. He really, truly is. He absolutely is 100%. Let's have an old look-see. Do you know what, right? There's not been an amazing amount. There's not been an amazing amount of news over the last few days. It's mainly been about Canelo, and we're into kind of Fury time now. So let's have a look-see on boxing scene, what we have to go on. Manager says focus Nery will not let Inoue get revenge for Japan. I think Inoue will get revenge for Japan. Hughie Fury and Patrick Corte square off this coming Saturday on May the 11th. Obviously, we have the Sky Show, we have the Queensbury Show on, which has Denzel Bentley on it. I'll be looking at that one, definitely. There's rumour mill of some news coming this week about some upcoming shows that Frank Warren has planned, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Looking forward to seeing that. Hopefully he has some good shows coming up in the UK, whether they be small hall, the Friday nights in the York Hall, or this one's on a Saturday night in the York Hall, or whether it's a bigger one. Let's wait and see, because obviously we have a lot to look forward to. A lot to look forward to over the coming weeks, into June really. So July we're waiting on fights for them, so let's wait and see. What else is there on the old boxing scene? Because it's primarily dominated by Alvarez. Vada is a force for good in a sport with far too many of them. Well, they're catching people, so at the end of the day, they're doing their job. They're definitely doing their job. What else do we have? Shane Mosley sees a lot of fight left in Canelo Alvarez. Oh yeah, there's still plenty of fight there. But I just don't think we'll ever see Canelo as good as he once was. I just don't think we'll ever see him as good as he once was. Shalom admits Buatsi is looking at other options as yard fights stall. Ugh. Then what was the point in the yard? If it's stalled, why is it stalled? Who's initiating the stalling? Is it Shalom? Is it Team Yard? What's the point then if this fight doesn't happen, that Yard didn't just go and work with Warren and go over and fight on one of the Saudi shows? Because him against Richards is a more winnable fight than Hutchinson against Richard in the nicest possible way. I don't get, if the fight with Buatsi doesn't happen, what is there for both guys next then? What is there? For me, it just makes no sense. If they're not going to fight one another, what is there? Who is there? What else is there? There's not an awful lot else on boxing scene. And lads, this might be a very short review of the week. I don't know how long I've been going for. Do you know what it is, right? It always feels like when you're doing these that you're not going that long, and then you look at the timer when you're finished and you're like, a half hour? What the F? Where'd that come from? But this doesn't feel like a particularly long one, but I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. We'll obviously get some videos out on Fury Usyk. We'll obviously do a quick review. We probably won't do a watch on, but we'll definitely do a review of Inoue versus Nery. I'm looking forward to that fight 100%. For now, I'll leave it there. Lads, smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. As I always say in these videos, I hope you all have a great week. It's a bank holiday in Ireland, so it's starting off a good way, and hopefully it gets a little bit better. Hopefully it gets much better. It will. Hopefully it gets better for everyone else watching. I hope you all have a great week. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. And for now, lads and lassies, I'll leave it there. Peace.